Something just shifted quietly inside a federal courtroom. There was no ruling and no immediate order, but a federal judge raised questions that legal analysts say are rarely casual. The court did not move to stop anything. Instead, it slowed the moment. It asked how far federal authority may be stretching during active enforcement. That pause is now drawing attention across Washington. What happens next may not stay contained inside this one case. A federal court is reviewing legal challenges connected to expanded immigration enforcement operations. These operations involve Immigration and Customs Enforcement, commonly known as ICE. The enforcement activity is tied to policy direction under the Trump administration. According to filings, the judge examined arguments about the scope of federal authority. The court focused on how the operation was structured and how that authority was applied across jurisdictions. No injunction has been issued. Enforcement activity has not been halted. Court records show the judge requested additional clarification rather than issuing an immediate ruling. Reports suggest the administration maintains these actions fall within established federal powers. Government attorneys argue the authority to carry out these operations is clear under existing law. No final determination has been made, and the case remains unresolved. Timing appears to be a central factor in this review. Enforcement activity has accelerated while multiple legal challenges remain pending. Legal analysts say courts typically move cautiously during ongoing federal operations. Judicial involvement at this stage is considered uncommon. That makes the judge's questions especially notable. They arrive while immigration policy remains politically sensitive nationwide. Sources familiar with the matter say courts often weigh operational impact alongside constitutional boundaries. This case appears to test how much discretion federal agencies can exercise before judicial oversight intensifies. The absence of a clear timeline adds to the uncertainty. It raises a broader question: when does review become intervention? Since the court hearing, there has been no immediate clarification from ICE leadership. There has also been no public response from senior officials at the Department of Homeland Security. That silence is now drawing quiet attention. Reports suggest state officials involved in the challenge are closely watching the court's next move. Legal analysts say this type of pause often signals deeper review, not delay for delay's sake. At the same time, a second federal authority could become more directly involved. Court observers say the Department of Justice may be asked to provide additional legal justification. That step has not been announced. The absence of a clear response has created uncertainty. It raises questions about whether internal coordination is still underway, or whether agencies are waiting for clearer direction from the court. So far, there has been little public reaction from Congress. Lawmakers from both parties have not commented directly on the judge's questions. That silence stands out. Sources familiar with the matter say internal discussions may be taking place behind closed doors. Those conversations are not public, but legal analysts note that congressional silence can sometimes be strategic. The White House has also avoided a direct response. There has been no formal statement addressing the court's concerns. That decision may reflect caution during an active legal review. Courts often interpret silence differently depending on context. In some cases, it signals confidence. In others, it reflects unresolved issues. Which applies here remains unclear. At this point, the story may no longer be about stopping enforcement. Instead, it may be about defining limits. Legal analysts say the questions raised could shape how future operations are structured. What began as a challenge to one enforcement effort may expand. It could raise broader oversight questions about federal authority during active operations. This moment introduces a shift in the narrative. The case may not stay confined to immigration policy alone. It could influence how courts approach executive action more broadly. The situation remains unresolved, and the direction it takes next is still uncertain. As the case continues, procedural pressure is beginning to build. Courts often operate on timelines that are not immediately visible. Legal analysts say key deadlines may be approaching quietly. The judge could request additional filings. Those could include operational details or legal explanations from federal agencies. That step has not been confirmed. Any request for more information could slow the court's decision. At the same time, enforcement activity could continue while questions remain unresolved. That dynamic adds complexity. Sources familiar with federal litigation say courts must balance speed with caution. Moving too quickly can create risk. Moving too slowly can raise separate concerns. Where this court lands remains unclear. Several paths remain possible from this point. The judge could schedule additional hearings without issuing an immediate ruling. That would keep the review active while preserving the current status. The court could also issue a narrow procedural order. Such an order could clarify boundaries without halting enforcement. Legal analysts say that approach is sometimes used in complex cases. The Department of Justice may adjust its legal arguments. It could provide further justification or revised explanations. That has not been announced. Appeals are another possibility. If either side challenges a procedural decision, higher courts could become involved. Congressional oversight discussions could also emerge if uncertainty continues. None of these outcomes are confirmed. Each depends on how the court proceeds. This case may influence how future administrations design enforcement operations. Courts could become more involved earlier in federal decision-making. That shift would have long-term consequences. The balance between executive authority and judicial oversight could be tested further. Legal analysts say similar challenges may follow, depending on how this review unfolds. Timelines remain uncertain. Authority questions remain unresolved. Institutional boundaries are still being examined. For now, the only certainty is this: the review is ongoing, and its impact may extend beyond this single courtroom.